only touch greatness.
Hey, it's Carter Hutton here, NHL goalie, and coming up on the episode of I Only Touch Greatness.
Yeah, the mayor of C-Town, Ryan Hayes.
Comes up with it right in front. Here's a wide open chance. Oh, what a save! Carter Hutton. Now intercepted by New York, 3 on none. Walking right into the goal, dumped in front of the shot. Oh, Hutton! Hello, Carter Hutton! Now the Canucks, after a line change, are right back in there again with a shot. Oh, my word! What a save by Carter Hutton! Oh, is this a time to call a cop? You better believe it! Comes to the front, the quick pass across. Oh.
What a save by Hutton! He laid down, the puck went in, but they blew the whistle.
I can't believe he saved that. I was expecting the red light to go on. I thought there was no chance whatsoever that Hutton could make this save.
He's going to the net, the shot. Whoa! What a save by Carter Hutton! He came out of nowhere to get the paddle on the ice and to come up with nothing but robbery.
Carter Hutton sticks out the shaft of the stick and the paddle, and he takes that away from him.
That was blocked by Squall. Oh, and a straight bounce out in front. And what a stop there by Hutton. Carter Hutton came back out in front, dove, and took away what appeared to be a sure goal.
Infield deep. Carter Hutton caught out of the net thinking the puck is going to go around behind the net. He hits it with his own stick. He knocks it out. And then the Philadelphia Flyer player was cruising down the middle. Just throws it right off the net. I think I might have been Matt Reed.
So Legwand in the box for the trip.
Feast your eyes on this one, folks. Save of the year. If it's not, I can't think of a better chance. Thrown again at the net. Now watch this. Redirected. Hutton scrambling. Knocks it out of the air with the paddle of his stick. Folks, off of winning. That's a sure goal. If that man doesn't do that, wow. You'll watch 100 Hawks.
Kessel against the wall, comes back to the point. Pass out of the reach of Kessel, and taken away by Rasmus Ristolainen, and then given away. Now Malkin cuts to the front of the net. Oh, what a move! Could get the shot. Carter Hutton again. Rods Kessel in front.
Malkin is going to walk out of the corner here one-on-one. Tries going back through his legs and try to catch Carter Hutton. He stayed with it perfectly. Right there, nice save. Then Gensel steps in and he's...
You're tuning into I Only Touch Greatness podcast, Vancouver's best show with Ryan Hayes.
Often imitated but never duplicated, I Only Touch Greatness podcast. Scan the code and follow. Often imitated but never duplicated, I Only Touch Greatness podcast with Ryan Hayes.
Born in Thunder Bay, according to my stats. What was your childhood like, and how did you come up to getting into the NHL?
Kind of a long story.
Where did you play junior? Basically, I couldn't find that stat.
Yeah. So I played junior A in Thunder Bay, a small league called the SIJHL. I played double A all the way up. I wasn't on like any rep teams or nothing. Wasn't very good, late bloomer for sure. And then I got to junior. I finished out midget, and I played junior A. And next thing you know, I started to get really good. I played till I was 20, and then we ended up winning like the Ontario Championship. I went to the Royal Bank Cup, which was, I think it's a Centennial Cup now they call it, but it was the Royal Bank Cup, the national championship. And from there, I got a scholarship. And I just that year I was like nuts. I was like 50-3 or something playing junior A, which was obviously really good. But we were a bad league. You know, it was like there was one good team that would kind of give us a run for the money. We'd have close games, and some teams would just smoke like, 17-0. So, but when I got to the World Bank Cup, I played real well and got a scholarship, and that's when I really kind of took off.
So is there one player that you really looked up to growing up that you wanted to almost model your game at? And at the same time, why did you become a goalie?
Like I loved, like Marc-Andre Fleury was around the same age as me. I loved his game when I was kind of a little older, right? When he kind of came to, but growing up, I loved like Curtis Joseph. He was kind of the man, especially back in his days when he was like the Oilers and Blues. Like I was real young, but I always remember his playoff series where he was just always absolutely lights out. And the Cujo masks, right? Like I kind of fell in love with the helmets, like just so intense. And it's definitely not my personality. Like I'm more outgoing. I like to have fun and shit, but those masks just I was like drawn toward, right? They were so intense and cool. And then as I got older and I got a painter and shit, and I was like drawn toward that. The guy that painted for me is from Boston, and he always would do cool designs, and I loved it. It was kind of like my alter ego, right? Like I'd have this badass mask, but like meanwhile I'm just kind of like a normal dude. When I put it on, it almost got me into the zone.
I got a question about your great mask at the Winter Classic coming up, so we'll get to that shortly. The Cujo had the sweet mask. Remember, it had the orange like running liquid or oil.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, they did cool stuff back then, and like I remember I had like a poster. So the backstory is my old man. Everyone gets to get a chance to play in goal when you're a little kid, and my dad was coaching the team with his buddy, and it was my turn to go in net, and I did well. So his buddy coaching the team was like, "Hey, like let's get Carter back in there," and my dad's like, "Fuck that! I don't want him in there anymore." Right? Like and I come from a blue collar family, blue collar town. My dad was a sheet metal worker, so I think he was more worried about having to pay for the hockey equipment, right? Like knowing the bill of like what goalie equipment is, and I think I just fell in love with the equipment, right? You get in there, you get to wear the mask and the gear, and then from there, I think it was about 8 years old that it rolled into that, and next thing you know, I think from 8 or 9 on, I was a goalie, and the rest is kind of history.
Okay. If you were having a dream dinner party, you can invite 3 famous people other than yourself. Who are you bringing to your party?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I'd have to go. Okay, if I took one hockey player just because I know him and I love him and he's like one of the best dudes, it'd be Joe Thornton. He's just like a unbelievable guy and kind of took me under his wing. I'd have to say I'd take Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. I think that would be real cool, just hearing stories and just the life that those guys have lived. And then outside of that, I would take probably like Brad Pitt or something, someone cool, like actor that's done like a ton of cool shit and like seen a lot in life. Just to like, I feel like you get every end of the spectrum with those 3.
So for me, I always go with Tupac. Seth Rogen would be my comedian. He's from Vancouver and he smokes, so he's good. And then everybody always takes Gretzky, but I'm taking Paulina Gretzky.
yeah. A little bit of eye candy too. I guess
I need something to look at.
Well, I thought we were going for dinner somewhere good. There would have been good waitresses, so I didn't worry about that.
Yeah, you didn't do the question right. Being a goalie, do you have any pregame rituals? I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I have sometimes too many. Honestly, I had like a routine that I stuck to make me good, that I thought was, got me really felt like I was prepared and kind of checked a bunch of boxes. And then it was more just about like self-talk, like a little bit of mental and meditation and focus and getting myself into a zone where I knew that I was like the man. Sometimes it was almost like creating like an alter ego where I felt super cocky. And I knew that like I was the best goalie in the world in that moment. Because when I was younger, I'd have moments where I would like say I was facing a really good goalie and he was playing really well. You start like being like, oh shit, he's playing good. Or I'm playing against Vasilevsky, or I'm playing against Luongo or Lundqvist early in my career. It's a bit overwhelming, right? Say you're playing in Vancouver and Luongo's starting back in the day. Once I learned to like isolate myself from that and just worry about myself, and I just kind of would go out with this attitude that I was the best goalie. And I used to listen to Kid Rock Cocky, like just to be like, I'm the man. And like, even like Drake, I'm the fucking man. Don't get it, do you? And I would walk out with that song in my head just to kind of create that atmosphere. And then once the game started, I was like dialed in.
Did you have a song that you listened to then before? before games?
I had a bunch of them, but that the Drake song was the one that I would kind of recite to myself when I was like in the tunnel, about to go out for warm-ups and about to go out for the game. But I had a list of, it'd be a good list to write down, but I had Kid Rock in there, and I had a bunch of different songs that just kind of gave me good energy, right? Like I had some Pearl Jam, I had some, what else did I have? I had some house music too, like techno stuff, like high energy when I was warming up, just to kind of get me in like a good feel good zone.
How did you end up at UMass Lowell?
So when I played at the World Bank Cup, I ended up getting a scholarship. They had their number one goalie who was like rookie of the year. He transferred to go to Quinnipiac. So they had an opening kind of come to, and it was between me and a few other guys. And I played well enough. They liked my game, and I went there, and that's when I really took off, right? I think just the training and the way that the NCAA is just so focused on like the off ice and the full conditioning, where I came from like more of a bush league, junior league, right? Like I played Friday night. I played Friday night. We drank Friday night. I played Saturday. We drank Saturday, right? It was like kind of one of those things that's just the way it was, right? My coach, who was great, was from the UHL, but they were old school, right? Like men were men, and that's how they treated us. And then I got to school, and it was like, wow, like eye opening, right? And I think in there I really took off because I already had the skill, but I didn't have the structure. And then once I got that, it was kind of took off for me.
So UMass came and found you then? You didn't get – we always ask this to hockey players or football prospects about you've chosen this college or university to go to. What makes you choose that college? It's the only time in your life you get, other than free agency eventually, that you get to choose where you go. Yeah,
I didn't. They chose me. I didn't have a choice. It was that or nothing kind of thing. And I think the only place that talked to me after that was a Canadian University, Waterloo. But that was like after the fact. Nobody else had talked to me. I was kind of on my last legs. I had my last year of junior, I played like 4 games of junior B, hoping to maybe play that the year before. And I was working. I wanted to get a job as a millwright or a machinist. That was kind of my thing. I was going to college, and I had no intentions of this becoming what it became. So it's kind of amazing looking back now, right? How it worked out.
So for you went undrafted. What goes through your head when you go undrafted? Like, how does that help motivate you? And how happy were you when Philly came to sign you?
It was good. It was kind of a tricky time. I had a lot of success in college, like statistically speaking. And the league I played in, there was a lot of big goalies came through, like, Ben Bishop, Quick, Corey Schneider. Just to name a few, there's been a zillion through Hockey East. And I had an agent at the time, and I didn't get any interest at all. Like the season ended, and he was going to get me a tryout in the East Coast League. I could go play in the coast somewhere in like Bakersfield. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I've been so good. How don't I have like some sort of offers? And I was living with a kid at the time who had an agent who represented some goalies. His name's Jordan Newman. Still a good friend, like ended up being my agent forever. So I talked to him, and he was like, I can get you in Philly. You can go play in the American League like this weekend, but you're going to have to like get rid of your agent. So I had to call my agent that I had at the time and fire him. And I switched agencies because I just was with a small guy, and I thought that was better for me. And it just worked out. It wasn't. So I had to make a tricky decision. And then next thing you know, I played 4 games in the American League, and I got called up to the NHL. And then that's when I really started holding all the cards, right? A lot of teams were interested in me because I went to the American League, played really well.
And then you eventually signed with Chicago, eventually winning the Stanley Cup. But I know that your name didn't happen to get engraved on it, but what did you drink from the Stanley Cup, and how heavy was it really?
So I did, and it's heavier than you think when you hoist that bad boy up. But so there was 3 of us that were like the Black Aces. It was, actually 4 of us. Adam Clendenning, who was he played in the NHL a little while, and Brandon Peary. Yeah, Adam Clendenning has a great career. Brandon Peary, who's been up and down, unbelievable, and rest his soul, Jimmy Hayes passed away, and me. We were like the 4 main Black Aces. So when we went to Boston, we won Game 6 in Boston. I was kind of with the team a little earlier on, and then they had me separate. We were just like, we didn't even go near the team. We just kind of hung out, practiced, and just stayed ready and partied probably a lot because that's all we could really do as Black Aces. But they brought us to Boston. I had played the last game of the year for the Hawks. That was my first NHL start after I'd backed up about 20 or so. And then we win the cup. So we're up there, and we had talked about it. We're on the plane ride over to Boston. We're like, do we touch the cup? Do we we're kind of unsure of ourselves. And so we win it, and we're partying after at Harry Carey's bar in Chicago on the flight back. And we get back, and Jonathan Taves just comes over right away and just like gives us the cup. He's like, fucking rights, boys. You helped us win it. Like, what a leader, right? What a great guy. And so we grab and we hoist the sucker up because we were so unsure of ourselves. The next thing you know, they're pouring beers in it, and we're drinking beers, and it was really cool. And then I have a Stanley Cup ring. So they gave me a Stanley Cup ring. Yeah. My name didn't get on the cup, but Patrick Sharp's from my hometown. So I was able to, when he did his cup party, he included me in everything. So my parents got to come by his house, and then I brought all my friends to the party that night. And by the end of the night, my buddies were holding the cup like they won it. So it was a lot of fun.
Hey, do you have any like hard feelings towards not getting a chance, not having your name on it?
No, not really.
But you were there for the winning, right?
I know. I understand that there's only so much space, I guess. I think for me, I always just wanted to be the guy to win it, right? And I never got that chance. So I never really had a lot of, hard feelings in that sense. I wanted to be the guy that played more, or like had a more direct impact on it. And I know how important I was in the process. Like I respect what I did, but it sucks. Obviously looking back, I'd love to have my name on it, but even if my name was on it, I still think I wouldn't have felt as if I earned it, as if I would have been playing,
And you got that ring to show for it, so you're a part of the team anyways.
Yeah, it's cool, right? Like even I've done a few events here now, being retired, and I brought the ring. It's cool, right? Some I don't personally wear or anything like that, but it's nice for people to see, and and looking back on it now, it's pretty cool. It's all over, and I have that to show for it.
2014, signed in Nashville, 1-year deal. At the end of that opening season, he signed a 2-year deal. How did it feel to be recognized enough to get a 2-year deal as opposed to 1?
It was good. It was honestly something I had been, in a dogfight. Like when Chicago, during the playoffs that year, they signed Antti Ranta, and the writing was kind of on the wall for me. It was like, I'm not the guy here anymore. And there was always kind of this riff, like where the Bowmans really loved me, Stan and Scotty, and Quenneville was a bigger fan of bigger goalies, I guess, which I was kind of told, or whatever the way it was. And during that Cup run, Nashville was like, we want you here. We love you. And I had a ton of success against their American League team. I think I was like 11-2 over 2 years against Milwaukee, and they loved me. So they brought me in, and it was to be Pekka's, they wanted a guy they could get for a discounted rate. And they flew me in on a visit. It was probably my first ever recruiting trip. Flew me into, and I come in and they have like Carter Hutton, like my jersey on the Jumbotron. I come in, they have everything laid out for me. And I went into a meeting, and I only had played one game at that point, and I had played against St. Louis with the Hawks, and I lost 3-1. And they were playing for home ice. They dressed a bunch of Rockford players. So I'm in a meeting with Poyle and Trotz and the goalie coach, Mitch Korn, and they're like, David Poyle's like, you've only played one game. You don't have a lot of experience, but you won that one game, and that's important, having a win under your belt. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there like, I know I lost the game. So I'm like, do I correct them? What do I say here? And I'm like, yep, no, that's right, David. We got one win, and I want to get more to go. So I ended up taking that, and then when I signed that deal, I remember I almost having like imposter syndrome when my agent sent it to me. Like, this is the deal, and I'm like, let's get this thing signed before they realize I sent it to the wrong guy.
What's your favorite sports movie?
Oh, favorite sports movie. Like I grew up on Slapshot, so that's definitely like my favorite hockey movie by far. And I think if I had to say other favorite sports movie right now, gun to my head, Major League. I'm a big Major League fan. I think that movie is unbelievable.
2016 signed with the Blues. What made you choose St. Louis when you had anywhere you could have gone?
I left Nashville. UC Saros was coming. Nashville wanted to sign me to a 1-year deal. I wanted 2 years. It was just kind of the term right at that point. I had played well enough. So I decided to leave, go to free agency. They kind of, one of the assistant GMs kind of motherfucked me out the door, like just saying I'm an idiot for leaving, and my agent. And, I just got to a point where it was the right choice for me. I knew with Pekka there, I was never really going to get anywhere, to grow my game. And that's nothing against Pekka. That's why he's one of the best in the world. And I wasn't sure where I was going to go. We had a bunch of options, and the night of the draft, Doug Armstrong came to my agent and just said, "We're going to trade Brian Elliott away." I think that's when he ended up with Calgary, and we want to sign Carter. And that was kind of the no-brainer pick to me, because it just felt like the perfect scenario where Jake Allen had never been the starter. He was still pretty young, and the team was good. So I'd have a chance to play on a good team and really kind of get more minutes and hopefully play well. And it worked out really well for me.
Then 2017, the Winter Classic. Of course, you had the great mask that day. There's that mask question. Tell us about the mask and what were your feelings about playing in that Winter Classic? Because I went to the Winter Classic, Luongo's last game in Vancouver. So I was there when they pulled him from the ice shortly before the game time. So the Winter Classic, the Winter Classics have always been cursed to me. But could you tell us about your Winter Classic experience?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was I think I don't even know how many buddies and friends I had down there and family, and just playing at Busch Stadium was nuts. We actually stayed. Everybody was boozing. I think the game was at 1, so we got up pretty early to go to the rink, 9 or 10, and everybody's in the streets just getting liquored up and having a good time. And we stayed downtown at the Four Seasons. So we're busing to the stadium, and all the fans, St. Louis fans, are giving us the finger, and we're like, no, we're the Blues, right? They just saw the bus, and everybody was so into it. So it was crazy, and the whole experience was just surreal, right? You're walking out to the rink and the fans, and even the standing ovation during the national anthem, I still to this day kind of gives you chills, right? And it's such a unique experience to get to play in something like that. And as for the mask, I wish I could sit here and take a bunch of credit, but my painter just knocked it out of the park. Jesse Custom Designs, he's the man out of Boston. So he's kind of been doing my helmet since college, and he had this idea where, we talked about honoring the Cardinals when we did it, and he just ran with it. So we took all the players from the past that were legends of the Cardinals, and he kind of sketched them on there in pencil, and then he did the baseball stitching with the Blues logo and the Cardinal on it, which is unbelievable. And cool story is Ozzie Smith signed the back of it. He came in to see it before the game, and he signed it. I think I got it right here.
There we go. That's what I want to see.
So, yeah, the Baseball Hall of Fame actually asked me for it, wrote me a letter, but if I gave it to him, I just wouldn't get it back. So I didn't really think that was the smartest decision. So you got Yadi Molina right there. So Stan Musial's on here, right? A famous player right here on this side. And he had passed away at the time, but his family sent me a signed ball thanking me for doing it. So then I have Ozzie Smith on the back doing a backflip, because that's what he did every time at the start of the season to run out. And it has all their championship years. So it's Ozzie Smith Hall of Fame 2002. So he came in to get to see it and signed it for me. So it was pretty cool keepsake. And just the way the artist did it is unbelievable. And it got a lot of press, a lot of feedback, and, obviously a really cool keepsake. I haven't really established what the heck I'm going to do with it, because I have 22 helmets from when I played. So I'm trying to figure out how to make a cool display. And that's the only thing I really, really collected, other than I got my shutout pucks too.
Yeah. Okay. On that note, I see all the masks. I see that they're awesome, and you've kept them all. The question is, do you have a favorite piece of sports memorabilia? I know that Rob Ray collected sticks off of each player that he could along the way, including steal one from Hasek back in the day. But what do you got?
I think, other than my helmets, right? Those are so unique. Especially once I started to have a family. I got 2 young kids, so I have my one St. Louis one means a lot to me, because when I first had my son, and that was when I led the league in goals against and save percentage, I kind of rocked that mask the whole time. But I think one of my most important things in memorabilia, it's probably to some people wouldn't mean anything, but to me it means so much. It's the Hockey Night in Canada towel. That you wear in the interview. I set the franchise record for saves in a shutout. Actually, I have 2 records, one with Buffalo, one with St. Louis. But the one with St. Louis was I just had my son, and I ended up I think I had 48 or 49 saves, and I did the Hockey Night in Canada interview after, and it was my first time ever getting one of those towels. And I always wanted a towel. I grew up seeing the towel. I idolized the towel. So for me to get a towel on my own by earning it is something. And to this day, it's in my little guy's room. He's got like a shelf, and I have a few things up there and the towels there. And it's something that, like, to some people might not mean much, but to me, that might be my coolest thing I got.
To all the Canadians, we love that.
Yeah, definitely.
So right on cue, though, my next question was, your second year in St. Louis, you had a career year. What contributed to that?
The team, for sure. We had a good team. We played a good brand of hockey. The goalie coach there was really good. Dave Alexander, he helped my game a ton. He's still there to this day. He's still a mentor to me, still a good friend. I think just everything kind of came together. I had this good body of work, and I had a lot of confidence and a lot of belief in the way I played. And, at that time, Jake Allen kind of struggled a little bit. I got a chance to play a lot of games and roll with it. Jake's had a hell of a career, still a really good friend of mine. And, it just kind of worked out that I was playing well at the right time and the team was playing well, and things just started clicking, and it was just game after game after game. Cause it was a tricky time at home because my wife and I just had our kid. So we're figuring out how to live with this new little alien that we made. And I always used to say, like, there's many nights I slept with like my headphones on because she'd be up with the kid, or she's trying to raise this kid and I'm gone. And she obviously helped me out a ton, and I think that and I obviously I credit her too, because without her taking care of that kid and taking care of all the things at home, I wouldn't be able to go and get to do that stuff. And it obviously helped out the rest of our life too.
Yeah, also winning the lotto helps too.
Yeah, that too, right? We knew the sacrifice we made, but it's easier said than done when you're running on a couple hours sleep. But no, it worked out, and St. Louis was awesome, man. I love that city.
Okay, I had this question later on. Was like, how happy were you when you guys won the lotto?
Yeah, it was good. It was actually crazy. I had this conversation the other day with a young kid. I help a few goalies out here, some elite kids, and they're figuring out what they want to do. And they're like, I don't know why I'm stressed. This is supposed to be fun. And I'm like, man, you know what's stressful is I remember when they offered me my first contract after that year, and it was like, I'd made $1 million a year at that point, which is, it's all relative to the situation, right? I know it's a ton of money. And then I got offered this contract. It was 2 years, 2.65. That was the first offer from Buffalo. And I'm like, holy shit. My agent's like, that's a joke. Like, that's a bad offer. Like, we're not talking about that. So I've talked to my dad about it, who's this blue collar, been working in a mill his whole life. And he's just like, right on, man, take it. What are you doing? You idiot? And then we ended up getting, I ended up getting just over $8 million for 3 years, which was like, absurd. Right. So it's something to this day I found funny. The whole process, I was so stressed trying to make the right decision, but it was like, I don't really think we could make a wrong one at that point.
You eventually signed the big deal, a 3-year deal with Buffalo. They had a ton of young stars at the time. Can you tell us about your Buffalo experience?
Yeah, it was one of those deals where I had a bunch of other like offers. There's about eight teams. Buffalo was really the only one where they're like, hey, you're going to come here and be the guy, and you're going to get the start. And we got a young team, and we're rebuilding, and they wanted me to help Linus Allmark kind of, mentor him. They thought he was the goalie of the future, but they were trying to protect him. And I knew what I was getting into. I knew I was leaving a really good team in St. Louis. So it was a bit, we tried to figure out the right way to do it. I was prioritizing, the term of the deal, how much money I was going to get. Obviously that was important, right? I'd worked really hard to get to this point. And then the other thing that was really important to me was I going to get to play? Was I going to get a chance to do this? Because I didn't want to look back sitting here now retired being like, at least I didn't throw my hat. Like, I threw my hat in the ring and gave it a shot, right? It didn't go as planned in Buffalo by any means. And necessarily it doesn't just fall right on me. There was a lot of issues there. But and that was the main reason I wanted to be the guy. I wanted a chance to fucking win the cup and be the starter and go for it and try to help them turn it around. It didn't work out, but at least I can sit here now as a man and be like, at least I looked it in the eye and gave it a chance.
And then a bunch of your friends must have went on to win the cup eventually.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The next year, St. Louis, everybody won it. And that was good too. Like I was happy, at that point. I think in my earlier years in hockey, it was like, fuck, if this guy gets hurt or like, if he doesn't play well, you're going to get a chance. And like, I feel when I eliminated that way of thinking and just started being, it's a selfish league, right? Especially when you're in the American League and you're surrounded by people that want you to succeed. you just learn, like, control yourself, right? Control what I can control. It goes for everything in life, right? So not trying to act like a motivational speaker here by any means, but I felt when I focused myself on the right things, it was better. And even now, like, you just want everyone to do good, man. You can control what you control. So it was pretty cool. And like Robert Bertuzzo is a great friend of mine, Thunder Bay boy.
Yeah.
So getting him to win the cup, we got to go see the cup, went to another cup party. So it was good. I got a lot of cup parties under my belt.
Yeah, bringing a bunch of them. 2021, signing in Arizona. What was it like to play for that disaster of a franchise?
Yeah, it was. I hurt my ankle with the Sabres, and I got that deal. I was in a boot. I had major ankle surgery. I was a mess, and so for me playing, I was trying to catch a moving train. I was so far behind, and it was cool. It was good. I think they have a good thing going down there. The GM, Bill, pardon?
They did have a good thing going. Apparently, yesterday they just.
I know, yeah. Until this rink got scrapped, I know that's heartbreaking. But I mean, like what a mess. I feel for those guys, right?
They're going to Houston.
Yeah, is that? I know I've heard that.
I think it's Houston, Kansas City, or Salt Lake. But.
Yeah, because it's kind of a plug and play, right? Houston's ready for them. So I feel like if they had the right facility there in the right place, it would be awesome. You know, it's a good place to live, man. It was cool. Like we had a pool in our backyard. Our kids are swimming. The boys are like, even you just go for lunch and you're on a patio and it's gorgeous out. We're like, talk about how easy is it to recruit guys when you're trying to pull guys into like Edmonton or Winnipeg when the weather's tough, right? It makes a big difference, especially with like families. But it was good. I think they have a good thing going down there. I think they're trying to be strategic over the next few years with the way they've protected picks. But it was definitely an interesting scenario. But I think Armstrong's doing a good job down there. He's intense, but they've got a good staff there. He's kind of abolished the way of thinking like old school in a sense. Like he's definitely buying into the modern age player with like the staff and the training and the way they handle things. And I think that has a lot of appeal to younger guys because these younger guys are different than the old breed, man. It's not the same. You can't treat them like the old, like, you know, if you kick me in the ass, I respond better, right? I like go and work harder and do that, where you can't do that with this younger generation.
No, because they're all soft. They've had other parents gave them yes, yes, yes. No, instead of no, 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 and kids are soft now.
Yeah, it's not like not everyone is, but it is definitely different. There's a disconnect like socially too. Like I think these kids grew up with phones and with, you know, where when I came up, I was probably in the middle where like the old school guys, like you talk about like, you know, JR and Jumbo and these legends, right? They were like probably too far the other way. Right, where now everybody's in so much shape, it's hard to like act that way and still like sustain on the ice. But I think there's a happy medium of like socializing in moderation and still partying, having fun and doing dinners and like the team aspect where these kids are caught in their phones or video games or like they're so antisocial. I found later in my career, like trainers, equipment managers, these guys became more of my buddies because they're just like salt of the earth people, guys that you could have a beer with. And like when I talk to them, it's eye to eye.
That's for sure. I mean, I totally agree with you on all of that. And the 2022, you announced your retirement. Do you know it was time?
Yes, I did. I knew it was time probably before that. I'd probably say that last contract was the first contract I ever was just like, I'm doing this purely for the contract and, you know, padding the account. I was just kind of done my ankle and I was just hanging on by a thread. But so I definitely was at ease making the decision. I was actually like, it was almost like a weight was lifted off me, right? You know, there's just so much that comes with it, right? It's not just the bright lights Saturday night. I don't want to act hard done by any means, but it's a grind, right? It consumes your whole life. So it was nice to be able to be done and now, you know, be around for my kids and do the, you know, there's days where I'm like, I wouldn't mind being at the Ritz right now in New York City and going for dinner, but it's okay. It's all right. I got my little guys and my buddies and my family. And now if I have a little too much to drink, I'm not worried about the next morning.
Yeah, no kidding. I hear you on that. Talking about Arizona, Old Town Scottsdale. Did you ever go to Dirk Bentley's Whiskey Bar?
No, I never. We went to, where'd we go? We go to Riot House.
Okay.
And what was the other? Oh, Bottled Blonde. That's always a good one. That's like the big, there's a bunch of good spots there, and those ones were good. We went there last year. It was like New Year's, like 4 of us. So we all went out, and so when you get a bottle service, they bring out like the marquee sign. So they have like a giant marquee sign, and you can pay and get whatever the sign is. So the young guys love me because I'm older. Obviously, these young guys are. So we're out there with me and my wife and 2 other couples are in town. So we're all partying, and a bottle comes out, and the sign says "Hut's fucks," right on the sign for me. I think it was Clayton Keller bought it or Nick Schmaltzen. So I'm sitting with my wife, and we're all partying. She's like, I'm like, honey, Hut's fucks just means I'm cool. That means they like me. Doesn't mean I'm fucking anybody. So it was kind of pretty funny when the sign came up. And then the next time we went out, again, bottle service, and the sign says Hut's still got it. So every time I went out to the club, I got a sign. So I knew I was still liked by the kids.
Oh, there you go. You get a picture in front of it?
Yeah, I think I got a couple of them. Because you know what actually happened was my wife and our close friend, his wife, they ran a half marathon that day. So they ran the half marathon, and then we went out that night partying. And so we're in the club, a sign comes out for me or whatever. So then I asked the bottle service girl, I was like, hey, how much is it for a sign? And she's like, the cheapest I can do is like $1,200 for like the bottle and the sign or whatever. So I'm like, hey, honey, you're not getting a sign. So I remember I had a photo of it, and I just photoshopped on it like my wife and our friend's name, and like, good job on the run. And I like sent it out in the group chat. I was like, this is as close as you're getting to a sign.
Hey, that's pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, what a ripoff. Bottle service is the biggest ripoff around. I love Old Town Scottsdale. One thing, did you ever play with any of our Canucks, Garland or?
No, I never played with Garland.
OEL?
No, he wasn't there. They were already gone. I'm trying to think who was. I played with Roussel, Beagle, Roussel and Beagle. Great guys.
So that would have been after they went from Vancouver. They would have been part of that trade.
Yeah, they were part of that trade. Yeah, because that was after in Arizona.
Yeah.
And then what other legendary Canucks? I know Ryan Johnson, Thunder Bay boy.
Yeah, good kid.
Taylor Pyatt, Thunder Bay boy. I know Taylor really well.
Do you have any good stories about Vancouver?
Vancouver. Oh man.
Roxy.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, the Roxy. I've been to the Roxy a few times. That's always one that like, that's more my kind of place too. Just like, I never liked going to the clubs. That was never my thing. You know, we'd always end up there because that's like where the guys wanted to go. And but yeah, the Roxy, nothing too crazy for me in the Roxy. I think most of my fun was had like stateside. I think when we lived in Nashville, we always had a ton of fun. Nashville was a great place to go because there was always a party on my 3 years there, and nobody cared who you were, right? So it was like cool you're on the Preds, but it wasn't like, you know, like you weren't worried about what you did and what everybody was, you know. That Canadian market's a different animal.
True, but also Nashville, there's like, you got the country singers are more popular than you anyways.
Yeah, for sure. But there was no lack of fun to go around for everybody, that's for sure.
Okay. What do you do now that you're retired?
So I actually, I kind of do a little bit of training. I train some goalies. Nothing crazy. Just, you know, there's like 5 or 6 elite kids here in Thunder Bay, like 15, 18 years old. So I get on the ice with them a little bit. And then I own a lot of real estate here in the city. So I don't do it. That doesn't really fill a 9 to 5. So I kind of have a business partner, a close friend I grew up with. And then the other thing I have an interest in is I own a wine brand in Nashville. So we own a strip mall and some land, and we have a brand that we sell to about 400 different places. So that's kind of been cool seeing it grow. And again, I got a partner down there. So it's called Love and Exile. And it's growing big. It's been cool. And we own some land right by where the Titans are building the new stadium. So it's going to be hopefully a lot of good things that come for a lot of years.
You have a favorite sports franchise? It doesn't have to be hockey.
It doesn't have to be hockey. Favorite sport franchise. I love the Blue Jays. Like, I love baseball. I went to a game this weekend. That kind of brings back a lot of childhood. Hockey, I was a Wings fan growing up, actually. Hockey's always kind of been my love. My dad was a huge Wings fan, Stevie Y. And those years with him and Fedorov. And so I got getting to know Scotty Bowman in my Chicago years when I was in Rockford and the AHL and NHL. That was really cool. I remember one time Scotty coming over and chatting with me and giving me props after a game I had played really well was something that sticks out to me too, because it was just an absolute legend, right?
Of course, another one. We're roughly the same age. I'm 40, so everybody grew up with that dynasty of the Red Wings and Darren McCarty and Draper. A couple of beauties. I've had both those guys on the podcast. Were you ever in any goalie fights?
Yeah, I got in one. I got in a few in junior, which wouldn't be anywhere recorded. But I actually got in a really good one in when I was playing the American League. I was playing for the Rockford Ice Hogs, and we were playing the Grand Rapids Griffins. And it was Peter Mrazek, who's went on to have a heck of an NHL career. So it was pink in the rink night. So we had pink jerseys on. The ice was pink, and it was raising money for cancer, and it was family weekend. So we had all the family down.
Now here we go. We gotta have a goalie fight. Carter Hunt's gonna jump in. Here we go. Everybody's gonna go. Hunt's gonna trap him with Mrazek. We got ourselves a line brawl. Back at the blue line, Beach is still pounding a Griffin. Now going nuts. Back on last off, I believe it's Sean Malone. Hunt and Mrazek. Now everybody coming off the bench. As Beach, here we go. We got a bench clear.
We're getting shit pumped. It's like 6 dudes. And our coach puts out our heavyweight guy, like a bunch of guys, and says, tells them there better be fireworks. And I was hot because we had given up 3 penalties in a row, and I was just getting absolutely roasted. And puck drops, everyone starts fighting. It was actually Kyle Beach is fighting. The guy ended up with all that shit with the Hawks there. And Riley Sheehan, I think, was in it.
Hey, I had him on I had Riley on the podcast. Love that.
Did you? Yeah, Riley's amazing. I ended up getting to play with Riley in Buffalo for a year. Great guy. Became good friends with him. And Wade Brookbank, a legend.
Yeah.
He's playing for us. And this is Brookie's a legit tough guy. He's in the American League. I think we always joke that he just got that contract that year because he wanted the health insurance because he was having a baby. And so he goes down, and he's one of their D-men, little D-men on Grand Rapids. So everybody on the ice is fighting at this point, and he's beating up some defensemen. I don't think he took his gloves off. He just kind of was toying with the kid because he didn't want to destroy him. And Mrazek skates out of the net and tries to hit Brookbank. So Brookbank throws him down, and I come flying down, and I ended up just giving it to Mrazek. So it was pretty funny, a pretty lopsided fight. But he was a young kid from Czech Republic. I don't think he had much experience fighting. So I definitely had the edge. They grabbed me, throw me in the penalty box. The video of it's on YouTube. It's actually a great.
There we go.
It's a great clip. It's actually really funny. I come flying down. The announcer's and here comes Carter Hutton. And so after the game, I think I got maybe a 1-game suspension or whatever. And I remember talking to my agent the next day, and he was like, "So how was the fight? Was it good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did good." He's like, "Yeah, you did good. That's good." And then he's like, "Don't ever effing do it again." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "If you want to make the NHL as a 4th liner, just let me know. You're a goddamn goalie." And I was like, "Okay, so I guess I shouldn't be fighting."
Holy, you really slowed that one, huh?
Yeah, no, that's okay though. I stayed in my sweet spot. If you're a 150-pound kid from Czech Republic, that's my sweet spot for fighting.
That's just it. I'm gonna try to drop I'm gonna try to find that video and drop it in. What is your favorite city and road barn, best and worst?
Favorite road rink?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's tricky. I've had a lot of success-wise. I love Pittsburgh. I don't know why. I always play well in Pittsburgh, but not. I gotta say, I love the Bell Center. When it's packed in Montreal, it just has this historic feel to it when you get in that rink. You're playing the Habs, and it's even though the Leafs is good and other Canadian cities are really good too, I don't know what the Habs does to me. It's I feel like I'm playing back in time kind of thing. Worst rink? Probably I hated Florida. Because you go to Florida and there's just especially you're playing if it's a Tuesday night and nobody's there and the ice is shit and it's hot as balls outside. You don't really feel like you're playing hockey. So it's just kind of a weird.
Nobody wants to be there.
Yeah, it's just a weird feel, right? You're trying to get up for a game. When you're playing you're playing the Canucks on a Saturday night, there's any Canadian city, you're getting up for that game.
That's true. Hey, one name you mentioned earlier that just happens to be in the news within the last 5 hours. Clayton Keller says he's not returning to Arizona.
Said he's not returning.
Yeah, he said he's not returning to Arizona. You know anything about that?
No, I don't. I can't blame the guy if he wouldn't want to.
No, who the fuck wants to go hang out there?
I feel like the biggest problem with like that, the whole situation has been like they've just been kind of dangling the carrot in front of all these superstars' faces that they have. Right? They have some good players that want to win a cup, and they have the contracts and they've already made their dough. Like they want to be on a winning team, right? Like
lots of prospects.
I know lots of people judge pro athletes like just shut up and make your money. But for some people, it's more than that too, right? And that's their right to want to win and to just be kind of led on. I feel like for so long at this point, you have to be like, this is obviously not changing. Like I don't want to be here anymore. And you're playing in a rink that's not an NHL rink.
Yeah, exactly.
We had meetings when I was there, and they talk about how this is like, it's not going to be forever. It's going to be like just, not permanent, a couple years. And my problem was like, well, not everyone's NHL. Like I got to play in the NHL. Like I played pro for 12 years. I had to play for almost a decade. I'm an outlier in that sense. Not everyone gets that. A lot of guys' careers are 2-3 years. So to play in like an American, not even an American league rink, like a college rink is such a joke in my opinion. But, those are obviously the legalities of the NHL. And I don't really get why they haven't been able to make something happen. It seems crazy to me. But
so as of today, Arizona rejected the offer, and they said that they're probably moving the franchise. And that's when Keller's dad went out on social media and said Clayton wasn't returning.
Crazy. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people that want him. He's a hell of a hockey player, so he's going to have to hold the cards.
Yes, he is, and they've got tons of talent. It's like you could move the franchise. Clearly, Gary Bettman lost this one. Like this is an L for him, I think. Like you've tried so hard to save this franchise in Arizona. It's just not going to happen. Move it to Houston. Kansas City needs a team, and you got Mahomes like $500 million to spend. Like get Mahomes to buy the team. Man.
I know, seriously. He's got enough.
Do you have any hidden talents?
Nothing too crazy.
Well, you can't juggle. You're a goalie. You're supposed to be able to juggle.
Yeah, I can juggle. That doesn't really seem like it's too hidden. Hey, that's low hanging fruit. I'm a big fisherman, avid fisherman. Okay. Spend a lot of time on the water in the summers when I can. Other than that, nothing too crazy.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge you overcame during your career?
Biggest challenge I overcame. I think just like never being the guy, like always being the extra goalie. I go team to team to start my career. Like I get a 1-year deal and they'd be like, okay, well, you get 1-year deal because we have a good guy coming. He's the next big thing. Right. And the majority of the time that guy would never be the next big thing. Right. So it was always like I was like kind of just this stopgap. And I think for me, it was like my mental fortitude of just being able to be like, I'm going to find a way. Right. Like I just kind of made myself like undeniable in the sense of like, even if I'd play well, sometimes I wouldn't play the next game. And I would just never bitch. I would never complain. I'd never be high maintenance. And I just kept like grinding until it got to a point where somebody had to play me. Somebody had to pay me. Somebody was going to give me a chance. And that's kind of how it worked out.
Do you have a favorite story about Vancouver and not the Roxy? Just like a game you played?
Well, I in Vancouver, I always love the game. Johnny, he works the visiting room. I don't know if you ever heard about Johnny. He's like a legendary guy. He always brings like beef jerky for the boys after. And he would always bring me my 50-50 tickets when I wasn't playing. So I'd be on the bench and I'd always buy 50-50 tickets whenever I was in Canada. So he always thought it was fucking hilarious because I'd be on the bench and I'd have my 50-50 ticket stuck in my blocker. And the trainer, I'd always split with the trainers. Like, so I'd buy them. And then the deal was if I won, the trainers would get, because it'd always be like 100, 200 grand. Like it was huge.
Yeah.
So he'd always scurry out there during the second or third period with my big, long, like arm's length full of 50-50 tickets. And I'd be on the bench and he'd be looking at me like, hey, did we win? Did we win? So I got a chance. We played in Vancouver last year, my last season with Arizona. I got a chance to see those guys, and those are kind of the relationships behind the scenes that you like really, love, right? It's kind of one of those things that like the stuff that fans don't see. As for the rink, I love playing in Vancouver. I had a lot of big games there. I won a lot of big games, and I think at one point in my career I was 2-0 and against Luongo in Vancouver. And I actually have a good Luongo story. I was playing.
Hey, let's hear it.
Yeah, Lou is a great guy. I never really got to know him that well outside of just playing against him. And so they'd always bring popcorn to the room in Vancouver. In Vancouver visiting room, they have a bunch of popcorn. And then Johnny, the visiting guy, or the guy who works the room, has a giant container with like all different flavors. Like this, and I love that salt and vinegar spread you put on popcorn. So I'd always be in there, and he knew that, right? Like he remembered everything. He'd give it to me, and so he'd bring me extra popcorn from Luongo's, because I guess Luongo, when he didn't play, ate popcorn. So now this is years later, and I'm playing in Buffalo, and Luongo's in Florida, and the trainer that works the room in Florida, I'm like, hey, give me some fucking popcorn. He's like, hey, I'll take some. So he brings me this giant bag, and I'm eating the popcorn. I come back after the second period, and the popcorn's gone. And I'm like, his guy nickname's Train. I'm like, Train, where is the popcorn? Like, he had one job, man. He's like, Luongo told me to take it back. And I'm like, fuck off. Like, why does he want it, right? So whatever, game goes on, game ends. Next game we're playing like 3 weeks later in Buffalo. Luongo's starting. I'm not even starting. I'm at the red line stretching. He skates over and like stops right in front of me and bends over and just goes, don't ever touch my fucking popcorn again. And then just starts skating away, laughing. So I thought that was always really good. Like, just the funny things that go on behind the scenes, right? They think that everything's so serious, and we're just boys being boys.
He's an absolute beauty, Luongo. He got the short end of the stick in Vancouver. Even though he set records, he might be the best goalie of all time on our team. I'm a season ticket holder to the Cup, so I take this shit serious.
Yeah.
But, he got the short end of the stick. I wish they never traded him away when you look back on it.
I know he's a hell of a goalie, right? It's hard to argue with what he's done. And, he was just like one of those guys that like I always respected because he was always so good, right? Like he was obviously a big prospect. It was kind of like Pekka Rinne to me, but they just always put the work in. Like he was one of those guys that every time he went to the rink, like Luongo would be on the ice first, last one off, like just doing his like, he took a lot of pride in his craft, right? You look at it and, he's an amazing goalie, and one of those guys that I don't know. Yeah, he got a tough deal there, man. But that's a hard fan base, man. They don't mess around.
Yeah, we also got a shitty owner.
Yeah. I don't know enough about that. So I know.
I've been throwing shots all week at the owner just because he refuses to let us rebuild.
Oh, really?
Let us rebuild. We were in the Chicago spot, and we were tanking. We were doing shitty. And you go and replace the coach, and now we get on a 15-game winning streak or whatever the streak might be. And now we totally lost the Bedard sweepstakes.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand. You trade Bo Horvat, right?
And then go on a winning streak.
And then why do you go and get that defenseman from Detroit and pay him? Like you traded like.
Shit. I texted I messaged my ticket rep, and I told him, I'm like, you lost me as a fan when you traded that potential first-round pick or first overall pick next year, and you've gone and traded that pick away for a guy that had a shoulder injury. He's not even going to finish the season anyway.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Sometimes I would love to know what goes on in those guys cutting deals.
I
never know. Like that's how big. It's got to be an interesting job being a GM. I know there's a lot of stuff that goes on.
Since you're roughly the same age as me, do you remember your first CD?
My first CD was Green Day Dookie.
Oh, of course it was. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and Offspring Smash. I don't know which one was first, but those were my first two. Like, I saw Offspring actually a few years ago. They were playing in St. Catharines. We were living in Buffalo. It was Sum 41 of the Offspring, and me and my couple of people, we went to it. Man, I had a good time. I was like, this is like, I'm like just this little kid in my basement listening to the Offspring.
Yeah, we all remember that Dookie CD for sure, though.
Oh yeah, Green Day, man.
The Green Day one. What is your personal highlight?
I think like I don't know. It's hard to say just one. Looking back on my career, I think having those franchise records are pretty cool. Something that I get to carry with me, right? Having the most saves and a shutout for two teams that are like been around a long time. And other than that, I think my first year in Nashville when I won 20 games, that was kind of a pretty cool milestone. I was really hoping to get to 100 wins. I got to like 90 or something, 90 something. But other than that, just proud of all the stuff that I did now looking back on it. And just, I think the people that like helped me, and supported me throughout it.
You were nominated for a Bill Masters, I believe.
I was, yes. I think a couple times, actually. I think I had 1 year in Nashville, 1 year in St. Louis. I was nominated. So that's obviously a pretty cool honor, right? And that was just me being me, too. I don't think I was doing anything over and above, but I think that's just like that when I talk about that character of being – I tried to be as low maintenance as possible. I think I have a lot of friends that are tradesmen, that are banging nails when it's minus 30 out, that are my dad going to work, I kind of kept that in the forefront for me when, if I was having a bad day, we're human too, right? Like, I don't want to act like I didn't have bad days or nothing, but I always tried to keep that in perspective. Like, man, things could be worse. I got a good deal. And I found a way to like keep my mind strong. And I think it helped me, through, the grind of a season for sure.
I'm going to shoot a couple quick questions for you. Well, before we wrap this up here, I asked these ones to the young kids, all the prospects and stuff. So they might sound a little kiddish for you, but if you were an animal, what animal would you be?
Lion.
Okay. I always go with a dolphin because I look like a dolphin. I got no hair and a beak on me. Like, if you your favorite sports franchise, you did answer earlier.
Blue Jays.
Okay. What was your favorite Halloween costume ever?
Oh. Favorite Halloween costume ever. I went as I don't know. I want to say it's Steve Bartman. The guy that caught the ball.
Of course, the guy that caught the ball.
I went as Steve Bartman. We did a Halloween party in New York City when I was on the Blues, and I went as Steve Bartman. And I had like the headphones on and the hat and the turtleneck. It was actually, and Jake Allen went as Rick Vaughn from Major League Wild Thing. So we had the two goal, and we didn't even know we were going as that. So that was probably my favorite one I went as.
Favorite actor or actress?
I like Edward Norton.
Great one. Do you know what a Canadian tuxedo is?
I do. Jean jacket, jeans pants.
Okay, you'd be surprised how many kids don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not that young.
Yeah, I know. We're the same age.
I'm probably even older, growing up in Thunder Bay.
I know, right? Yeah, you guys get shittier weather than we do. Deep sea or outer space?
Ooh, jeez. Deep sea.
If throughout the years they do rookie initiation here and there, or you were just out with the boys having fun, if you had the $1,000 prize on the line and you had to sing one karaoke song, what song do you sing?
Love Shack.
Oh, okay.
That was too easy.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Cat or dog?
Dog all day.
I know, right? Who doesn't? If you could only eat pancakes or waffles for the rest of your life?
Pancakes.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
Hey. Friends or Seinfeld?
Seinfeld. My wife's going to kill me, though.
I know, shit, eh? Comedy or drama movie?
Drama.
Hey. Halloween or 4th of July?
Halloween. I'm Canadian.
Yes, of course. Oh, I don't know if I can ask that. We can edit this one out. Big booty or big breasts?
Big breasts.
Okay. If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Fly.
I would always like to know what my date was thinking before she just stood up and walked away and left me behind. So if I could read her mind before, so I knew what I said. If you were a flavor, what flavor would you be?
Chocolate, because that's my favorite flavor.
Hey, okay, I think I'm mint.
Yeah, mint. Mint, dude.
Yeah, okay. What do you want your legacy to be known as? Last question.
I think that's a good question. That's a tough one. I think a good father, more than anything, a good family man, a hard worker, someone led by example, a leader, and I think being humble. When I think people look back at me, I always felt myself as like approachable. I've never thought I was better than anybody, and I think that's important. I just think I got to do something cool for a long time.
How important? Okay, I just made this one up as we go. How important is it to give back to the next generation of kids coming up behind you?
Yeah, it's really important, and that's kind of why I'm involved right now with some younger kids. I think I've taken a back seat to my wife's career now. She's got a big career and she's busy because for a lot of years she held the fort down when I was doing my thing. And but in my free time, I help out these kids and I enjoy giving back because I feel like without it, where does it stop, right? Especially we're in Thunder Bay and it's kind of a unique market. We're a little more isolated, so I enjoy giving back in that sense and helping them speed up their curve. Because I can show them things that, they don't need to wait a few years to make the same mistakes I did. And, I got a lot of knowledge and put a lot of miles on this body playing hockey.
If you could play any other professional sport, what would it be?
Ooh. Like I love a few other sports, but I'd have to, I think I got to say golf.
Yeah. Less wear and tear on the body.
Yeah, man. Even now, like I still play a little bit of golf, but I love sports. I love playing everything. But I think golf would be cool, especially right now. It's just such a big game, right? Imagine being good at golf and throwing a tight shot on 18 or just. We went to the Waste Management last year, and that was a time.
Oh, I bet.
No, yeah.
If you could jump in a time machine and go anywhere, forward or back, where would you want to go?
Oh man. Maybe back and just like, I don't know, maybe to my younger self, because I was a late bloomer, maybe just like speed up the process and work on things a little quicker so I would have been better, younger. But I don't know, man. I don't have a ton of regrets. I try not to think that way. And I would hate to ever change the path I have with my two little kids too, right? Like I'd never want to do that. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question.
Okay. None of the last few haven't really been ones I wrote down, but if you could go back and change anything, is there something you could or would?
I think maybe just spend more time with like grandparents, people that have moved on and passed away and just sometimes when you're a kid and you're busy and like your priorities are different, I think that's one thing I'd maybe go back and spend a little more time for those people that, meant so much to me too,
Okay. And the floor is yours at this point if you want to plug anything.
No, it's all good, man. I was just happy to come on and chat, and it's good. It's kind of, it's been fun. It's a good hang, and I enjoyed it.
So what we've been doing this for a couple of years now, and we started during COVID. I normally have a partner, but he just had a kid, so he's kind of took a couple months off. So I'm rocking it by myself, but we started during COVID. We pumped out 287 episodes, or 587 episodes.
Oh, wow.
In 2 years since June 2022. It's just that we just keep working and grinding, trying to meet people. And we appreciate when we get people like you that are already established pros and you've done it all. Normally we have to collect the prospects before they get big-headed.
Yeah.
So we have to collect a lot of prospects and stuff. So I love it when we got somebody like you that's already been a pro and you're a genuine, nice dude. And good.
Yeah.
I thank you for giving me the time.
Yeah, no problem, man. I enjoyed it. It was fun, and hopefully you get some more.
I know. We'll call everything off air from right here.